Hey, I'm Travis.
I'm Tyler.
We are Twisted Transcription Studios. And in this video, we're still talking about making metal on a budget. Blah, blah, blah.
Last video of this series, we talked to you about our equipment and what equipment you could use for on a budget, such as the software, the Focusrite, mics, all that nonsense. This video, we're going to show you more like mic placement as far as like for his guitar,
Cabs,
drums, whole nine.
Yeah, even maybe some vocal mic
vocal stuff,
placement, stuff like that.
So, into the studio. We're following Travis into the studio.
Welcome to the drum guitar room.
For this.
First, going to talk about miking up the guitar cabinet. That doesn't have a mic. So, I'll find the mic. Mic. Anyway, so Tyler, you're going to have to get really close in with me here. What you want, for me, I'm using speaker 1 here. You might like speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4. I actually did that backwards, but you get the point. You might like one of those better, but you really can't see it. You have to take your flashlight a little bit, shine it in here, and you'll see a dust cone, a little black dust cone. And personally, I get my best sound out of one mic scenario, not a 2 mic scenario, which is what I would prefer. But for one mic, I like to put it just on the outside of the dust cone. So I really can't see it very well, but that's about in the right spot. I like to put it right against the cloth, but you can get a different sound from every point. You can even take and slide it back and put it off axis. You want to get a little bit darker. But for one mic scenario, for me, I like to do the just off the cone, straight on. You get a nice crisp sound, and then you can do some EQing to kind of roll stuff off if you like. Better yet, like I said, 2 mic placement would be the Fredman technique where one comes in straight off angle. With this one, it sounds amazing. But on a budget, 1 mic's what we're going to work with. And I think that's like the dirty, fast mic placement tutorial. Maybe we'll make a video in the future where we get really in depth with something like this, show you some different sounds, stuff like that. But that's my kind of go-to for this kind of deal. We're going to talk about mic placement and stuff now. Part of this video that we're doing.
Didn't know you were going to be back so soon. Stepped on the headphones. There's the headphones we were talking about. Some of the Scarletts.
Yeah, they're definitely needed when you're tracking drums.
Definitely. Alright, well, start with the old kick that's not hooked up.
Okay.
You can see I have it like directly in the porthole. If you don't have a porthole, get a porthole. Especially if you're doing metal. Just has more of a punch hit than without. If you put it directly in the center, and I kind of like to put it halfway in, halfway out. Get a little bit of a beater on the back and the full sound on the front. That pretty much does it for the kick. You can run your wire up here if you're set up like this. They do have little bass drum mounts, but
we're too bright for that kind of thing.
That's not on the budget. Alright, if you come over here, look at the snare. By the way, this is Chris Adler signature snare. The first one that come out. I love it. By Mapex. Anyway, got the snare mic. I like to angle it down, kind of like a 45. Try to get it to the center. Aim to the center of the snare. Same thing for the toms. You just really want it, like you don't want it sitting up like this. 1, it's easier to hit. 2, it's not going to get the sound as good. And you don't want it like that because that's just stupid. Yeah. And as for the overhead, I have on the mic stand right there. Talked about it in the last video. You definitely want overhead for all the cymbals. And that about does it.
Now we're going to talk about some vocal mics. This is the condenser that actually came with the Focusrite. It works pretty good. Can be a little dry. You might have to do some tweaking and mixing. I personally like to get it nice mouth level. I would really recommend a pop filter, but we didn't. I mean, that's not super on a budget. They're $20. You can pick one up, but we don't have one for this video's purpose. Personally, I like to get kind of in this area because once you get really yelly, you'll get a lot of spikes, stuff like that. If you're doing really nice soft vocals, you can get all up on it and be sweet and sensual. But and also for backing vocals, you kind of in the sound space, you hear them like back behind the main vocals. So if you're tracking your main vocals here, I actually like to take and step like a foot back and give it a good loud backing vocal, and it'll sound really interesting in the mix without having to do a lot of playing with the faders and stuff like that. Personally, I would set it up so your guy was kind of over here standing in this corner yelling at the corner, so you don't have a lot of bouncing around and stuff like that. But whatever scenario you have and setup that you have, it'll all work pretty well, just as long as it's a little bit dead. You want it to be kind of dead, like we've got it in here. And I think that wraps up vocal mics. Again, this is a really dirty and fast video on mic placement. Maybe in the future we will do a sound comparison of each different little spot you could put it in. But until then, drop a like, leave a comment, hit the bell,
Subscribe. And don't forget to turn the snare off before recording.